participants' responses to the questions were rated by 2 independent raters. That was me and my undergraduate research assistant, and the agreement between the 2 raters was 85%. And the responses were organized in 6 different categories. These categories were the categories that were originally developed by the Swedish professor and her graduate student. And so here are those categories. So a response would fall into the child sexual abuse category. If someone said something like the first quote, "This is a pervert touching a little kid who doesn't want it." The second category, the problematic child-adult relationship without sexual illusion, that responses that fell into that category included where participants did acknowledge that the 2 individuals in the drawing were of 2 different developmental levels, and they did notice that there was some level of inappropriateness between the 2 individuals, but they didn't explicitly state that anything sexual was going on. And then the third category, the safe child-adult relationship without sexual illusion, that would be something like the last quote, "living in a caring family." The fourth, the consensual sexual relationship, this involved people who said that the 2 individuals were both there voluntarily, willingly, and were of the same developmental level. And no one said that they didn't know, or no one gave a literal description, or just basically said what was going on in the picture without adding anything subjective.
I also want to congratulate you on a lovely presentation and a lovely dissertation. I wanted to talk a little bit, and I know I'm supposed to be quizzing you, but I'll open this up to people as a whole. I was kind of curious about a number of things. One, the super high rates of trauma to begin with in the sample, with 54% experiencing some type of trauma, which, we all know the 1 in 4 figure for kind of college students. But one of the things that struck me was the way the high betrayal trauma was categorized. It was definitely in terms of the relationship, and that's very consistent with Jennifer's theory. But given the content of the study, I wonder if you played around with looking at just the sexual abuse component versus...
I didn't.
Or how much even comorbidity or overlap there might be between people who are sexually abused also being neglected or emotionally mistreated, because... Is comorbidity the right word for that? I don't... But the overlap, the Venn diagram of those.
Right, yeah, it would be really interesting to look at sexual abuse, because that was something that I was thinking about in picking that picture, was like that picks up on sexual abuse.
It's
if someone has had sexual abuse, that will really trigger them.
And your hypotheses are so relationship specific also, which isn't quite sexual, but it's not. The physical abuse was just a little.
Yeah, and so there was a even spread of people who experienced sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. But also, what I found is that people typically, if they experience sexual, they also had emotional and physical. So,
that's what I'm assuming, is that there's super huge overlap, so it doesn't...
Yeah, so it's hard to tease apart those effects,